Iran has once again tightened control over the Strait of Hormuz after briefly reopening the waterway, as tensions with the United States continue to escalate following the American blockade of Tehran's ports amid a temporary truce. The brief opening was conditional, tied to the ceasefire in Lebanon, and routed through Iran's own maritime authority. That window has now closed. And at the center of the strategy Iran is using to enforce control over the strait sits a force that does not look like a navy. It looks like a swarm. Small, fast, and almost invisible, Iran's fleet of high-speed attack boats is emerging as one of the most consequential asymmetric threats the US Navy has faced in the current war. The fleet is known informally as the Mosquito Fleet. It is a network of small, high-speed attack boats designed not for traditional naval battles, but for sowing chaos that can overwhelm even the largest warships through sheer numbers and speed. Some of these boats reportedly reach speeds of up to 100 knots. They are lightweight, highly mobile, and many are modified civilian vessels armed with machine guns, rockets, and built specifically for hit-and-run attacks. The fleet is operated by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which functions as a parallel force to Iran's regular navy and is known for unconventional warfare at sea. The IRGC is using these boats to enforce its restrictions on movement through the strait. According to reporting, these boats are difficult to detect. They do not always show up clearly on radar or satellite, and many are hidden in coastal caves ready to deploy within minutes. That is the operational signature of a force designed for ambush, not for set-piece engagement. Even after weeks of sustained US and Israeli strikes, hundreds and possibly thousands of these craft are believed to remain active. Over the years, Iran has expanded the fleet beyond surface boats, adding mini submarines and marine drones, turning the waters around Hormuz into a layered battlefield where threats operate at multiple depths and speeds simultaneously. The result is visible disruption at sea. At least 20 vessels have reportedly been attacked, with ships now stranded on both sides of the narrow waterway. For the US Navy, this is not a conventional fight. Heavy warships loaded with expensive weapon systems are facing off against cheap, fast, swarming targets that move in packs and disperse before a targeting solution can be locked. For commercial ships, there is almost no defense at all. The economics of the confrontation are as asymmetric as the tactics. A single IRGC fast boat costs a fraction of a single missile fired from a US destroyer. The math favors the swarm. The challenge the Mosquito Fleet poses is structural. The US Navy is built for blue water dominance against peer competitors. Its carrier strike groups, guided missile destroyers, and cruisers are designed to project power across oceans. The Strait of Hormuz is not an ocean. It is a 40-mile choke point bordered by Iranian coastal territory, filled with commercial traffic, and shallow enough in places to limit maneuver. Inside that geography, the IRGC's small boats have the advantage of numbers, speed, local knowledge, and the ability to disappear into civilian traffic or return to concealed positions along the coast. The expansion of the fleet into mini submarines and marine drones adds layers that did not exist in earlier confrontations. A surface swarm is one problem. A surface swarm supported by subsurface platforms and unmanned systems operating simultaneously is a different problem entirely. It requires the defending force to track threats in 3 dimensions, while also managing rules of engagement in a waterway where commercial tankers are transiting at the same time. The density of the operating environment is the weapon. Iran does not need to sink a carrier. It needs to make the cost of operating near the strait higher than the cost of negotiating.
Since the beginning of major combat operations, the United States Joint Force has struck more than 13,000 targets, including in that 13,000 more than 4,000 dynamic targets that popped up on the battlefield and were immediately addressed, thanks to the exceptional command and control system and intelligence, acumen, and agility of our joint force. CENTCOM forces destroyed approximately 80% of Iran's air defense systems, striking more than 1,500 air defense targets, more than 450 ballistic missile storage facilities, 800 one-way attack drones storage facilities. All of these systems are gone. We've devastated Iran's command and control and logistical networks, destroying more than 2,000 command and control nodes and degrading their ability to target U.S. and friendly forces. It is, and we know this, incredibly frustrating right now to be a lower level Iranian commander trying to fight your fight. As the Secretary said, the Iranian Navy now lies mostly at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf, and we assess that we've sunk more than 90% of their regular fleet, including all of the major surface combatants, as the Secretary said. 150 ships are at the bottom of the ocean, and half of the IRGC Navy's small attack boats. Joint fires projected from the land, sea, and air executed more than 700 strikes against naval mine targets, and we had assessed that we destroyed more than 95% of their naval mines. And perhaps most importantly, we've destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, their ability to reconstitute those capabilities for years to come. We attacked, along with our partners, approximately 90% of their weapons factories. Every factory that produced Shahed one-way attack drones was struck. Every factory that produces the guidance systems that go into those drones was struck. Their missile defense industrial base is shattered, with more than 80% of their missile facilities gone, as well as their solid rocket motor production capability. It will take years for Iran to rebuild any major surface combatants, as more than 20 naval production and fabrication facilities have been damaged or destroyed, and nearly 80% of Iran's nuclear industrial base was hit, further degrading their attempts to attain a nuclear weapon. Throughout Operation Epic Fury, our joint force struck at the heart of Iran's ability to project power and threaten the United States and the region. And in order to do this, it required the service and sacrifice of more than 50,000 American warfighters deployed across CENTCOM, EUCOM, and stateside. The joint force flew more than 10,000 missions, including 62 bomber missions, 18 of which flew round trip from the United States to deliver bombs on military targets. Each of these missions was more than 30 hours in duration, and we did that 18 times. No other military in the world can do that. And it's a testament to the logistical force that quietly serves behind them. I cannot thank Transcom and the Air Force Tanker and Mobility Force more. Combined with Army and Navy joint fires, we struck more than 13,000 targets. And along with our Gulf partners, we've thus far intercepted 1,700 ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones, defending our forces and our partners in the civilian population. And we remain ready to do so should the need arise. Along the way, we consume more than 6 million meals, and by my estimate, more than 950,000 gallons of coffee, 2 million energy drinks, and a lot of nicotine, but I am not saying that we have a problem. I've laid out the statistics, but it does not truly capture the nature of combat.
The scale of the American operation behind those numbers is itself a measure of the war's intensity. The briefing said more than 50,000 American service members were deployed across CENTCOM, European Command, and stateside support. The joint force flew more than 10,000 missions, including 62 bomber missions, 18 of which flew round-trip from the United States to deliver ordnance on Iranian targets. Each of those missions lasted more than 30 hours. The briefing also said U.S. and Gulf partners had intercepted 1,700 ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones defending forces, partners, and civilian populations. The gap between the statistics and the reality on the water is the story. The U.S. military says it has destroyed half the IRGC small boat fleet, 90% of the regular Navy, and 95% of the mines. And yet the Strait of Hormuz is once again under Iranian restriction. Vessels are being fired on. UKMTO has confirmed gunfire near the strait. Ships are being turned back. The Mosquito Fleet is still operating. If the destruction figures are accurate, what remains is still enough to contest the waterway. If they are overstated, the problem is larger than the briefing acknowledged. Either reading leads to the same conclusion. The asymmetric force Iran built for Hormuz is still functional.